Hello, my name is Kim Martman, and this is Chapter 4 of the Introduction to Excel class. So Chapter 4 starts on page 44 of the book entitled Introduction to Excel 2016. And in this chapter, we're going to go over autofill and flash fill, as well as basic formulas for very common calculations and mathematical functions you can use. Just very simple, nothing too elaborate. So on to page 45. So I know I demonstrated in an earlier chapter how to use autofill, but here's a quick review. So with autofill, you can copy data. You can either duplicate it or use patterns, but you drag the fill handle vertically or horizontally from a cell or selection of cells. So with the practice worksheet, we're going to start with that, and I am going first to delete all the data I previously had in there. You can kind of see the formatting is still there too, but that's fine. So in cell A5, I'm going to just type the number 1. And now I go to the lower left corner of the cell. It becomes a black cross. And again, always make sure you have the black cross. It looks like a plus sign almost. And you left click and you hold and drag down to 11. It copied the 1 all the way down to the cells. So it didn't do the sequence like it did with the days of the week. But you can see in the lower right corner, there are the autofill options. So I can tell it if I want it to, well, copy cells means it takes the 1 all the way down like it just did. If I wanted to go to 7, I would fill the series. So Excel does recognize patterns, so let's go over to page 46 and kind of look into that. So it does recognize patterns and can autofill cells for you. So this is starting in the middle of page 46. So in cell B5, I'm going to type in 1 and then enter. And and this is a good example of having formatting still in the previous cell from a past exercise. So I'm just going to delete that. Shift that up. And so I'm just going to do 1, enter, and then 3. And so now I'm going to go back up to the 1. You can see I have the white cross, the white plus sign, and then drag down to the 3. So I have them both highlighted in this border here. And then I'm going to get my black plus sign or cross in the lower right corner and drag that down to the 11. And see, now you can see it did the odd numbers. So it did figure out the pattern. I just had to set the pattern for it. Now on page 47, Excel also recognizes common patterns besides numbers. So I can type in Monday here, black plus sign again. Those are the days of the week. Or I can type in January, get the black plus sign again. That only goes to July because I only drag it down to 7 cells, but I can do all the way to December, and if I keep going, it'll just loop right back to January. If I'm like, oh my gosh, I went too far, just drag it back. So now I'm going to go into the cost of labor tab that has just been kind of sitting there, because we can also use it to transfer numbers over. So under Monday, so this is cell A2, and this is the bottom of page 47, I'm going to enter 7.5, 7, 8, 8, 8, and 6.75. Now let's go to page 48. So on page 48, we're just going to assume that our employees, our 6 employees here, work the same schedule during the weekdays. So I'm going to highlight all of these numbers. You see I clicked and dragged, and they are all highlighted here. They're all within this box. Even the first cell is always white, so don't let that confuse you. And then I get the black cross here and drag across to Friday. And that copies all the numbers all the way out to Friday. So that way, since they work the same amount of hours, I didn't have to keep typing that in over and over. Now, if you have Excel 2013 or more recent or newer, you can recognize patterns from data in a worksheet. So one of the ways, and this is flash fill, and this is pretty neat too. One of the ways flash fill can help you save time is putting data together in a new format from different cells. We're going to use flash fill to put the first and last names of our employees together in a new column. So Excel will even recognize that we want to capitalize the names in the new configuration. So it is turned on by default, but if you just don't like the way it pops up or anything, you can always click on File. And then sometimes it says Options. There's More and Options. You see Advanced. And then there's automatically flash fill. You can just uncheck that, which I'm not going to do. So cancel. So I'm going to add 3 blank columns before the days of the week. Just going to click on my A above column A. And that's one way of doing that. You can just go to Insert and then insert sheet columns here too. So we're both going to do the same thing. There we go. You can see my upper pane is still frozen, so you can scroll up and down. So I'm going to start, let me move my cursor. Last name, first name, and then let's go on to page 49. So first we're going to start with Joe Friday. I guess he got a new job. I'm just going to enter the names here that are illustrated on page 49. And then I'm going to click on C2 for full name. And here's where I establish the pattern I wanted to follow. You have to establish it first. And now see, once I start typing in Luke, it goes all the way down. I just hit enter and it fills it in for me. There are also fill options here, you can see. You can undo it, accept suggestions, or just select all 5 change cells. But typically, since it did it correctly, and this is a basic class, I'm just going to leave it alone. So on page 51, I'm going to add hours to Saturday and Sunday. And you can see I've put a blank column between Saturday and Sunday, and there's a reason for that we're going to get into in a minute as we go along. So on the top of page 51, I'm going to enter the data as it is illustrated. Oops, 6.5. And then notice here, since I'm going to be using formulas, I put a 0 in instead of leaving it blank. So there are my hours. So now for column I, I'm going to call it regular hours. And for column I, that's why I left it blank. And so now I'm going to use the sum function. You can see I'm still in the home tab. And then kind of more toward the left, or I'm sorry, the right, there is this Greek letter. And that's the sum function. And once I click on that, you can see it automatically figures out, okay, I want you to add everything to the left of me here. So it's equals sum D2 all the way to H2. You can see it's the D2 colon H2 and it is in parentheses. So now I hit enter. So this person worked 37.5, Joe Friday worked 37.5 hours this week. Then I just get the black cross again in the lower right corner and drag it down. And it then transfers the sum to the rest of it and does it all correctly. So you can see here, D2 colon H2, but then when I click under it, you can see in the formula bar here, it adjusts. Here's D3 and H3, and D4 and H4, and so on. So it automatically figures out that you want this formula to be transferred over to the rest of those cells, but you want the cell references to change. So on page 52, I'm going to do something completely different. It's going to be a little bit different. So now I'm going to calculate the OT hours. So after Sunday, I'm going to put in OT hours. Now this is a little bit different. So going down to cell L3, if I were to auto sum that, that does work. It does kind of sense, okay, you just want it out that far because there is a formula in that cell, the 37.5. But another way of going about doing that is to actually write it in by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. So the way to type that in, always start with your equal sign. And as long as the wording is right, as long as the letters are right, they are not case sensitive. So you can see I have it lowercase, and you can see there's a list of functions that pop up here. So it does actually offer me sum as an option. So it does kind of try to guess what I'm doing. Now I'm going to open my parentheses. There's J3, and again, it doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not. It's J2. You can kind of see as I went along, so I said J3 initially, and I saw that it highlighted the wrong cell. So you can always kind of pay attention to that. Then I fixed it to J2 and K2. Make sure you close your parentheses. Enter. And see now there's 11.5 OT hours because just the 5 plus the 6.5. But you can see up here in the formula bar, this long white bar on the top, it does change it to capitalized. It figured out what I was doing, even though it was lowercase. And hit the plus sign and drag down again. So I'm sorry, the cross. See, so it did the same function, and then it adjusted the formula depending on where I was. Now we're going to use column M out to this side here to add a formula and calculate gross pay. We're going to use an hourly wage of $10 just for ease of use. And our formula will multiply the rate of pay times the number of regular hours, 1.5 times the rate of pay for OT, time and a half, and add the two products together. So the formula we want to translate into Excel is basically in one set of parentheses, regular hours times 10 plus, in another set of parentheses, 1.5 times 10 for the wage, and then times the number of overtime hours. So let's go to page 53. I'm going to label column M gross pay. And we go to cell M2. So after I do that, I'm going to type in the formula. Equals, open parentheses, 10 times pi by 2. The book has me off a row. Close parentheses. Plus 1.5 times 10 times L2. Close parentheses. And I press the enter key. So now for the gross pay, since it is a dollar figure, I'm going to click on the M above column M, and then let's go back up to the center here where it says general. We'll bring that down and we'll just do currency. It's $547.50. And actually that is accounting. So that's what currency looks like. And then here's accounting. See how it aligns all the decimal points and the dollar signs? So we'll just stick with that. And then I grab the black cross or plus sign again and drag that down. So it does transfer both the formula and all those results and the format. So it makes them all accounting. Now I'm going to save that. And then going on to page 54, we are going to do a vacation budget. So I'm going to add that tab. Here. I'll just add it to the end because we are going to use it for something else. Just change the tab color. So first across the top, I'm going to highlight all the way to H because I'm just going to follow the example on page 54 in the book. Merge and center. And just type in vacation budget. So here we have vacation budget. It is centered already. I'll just italicize. Maybe add some color to that so it stands out a little more. That always helps. So I'm just going to use the default color. And now I'm going to put in my column headers for this for each item. But I'm just going to drag out to this because some of these are going to be a little bit long. So I'm going to wrap the text. In your version, in your screen, might say wrap text, or it might have this A, B, and then arrow C icon. So I just click that. It doesn't look like it did anything, but that's because I don't have text. So I'm going to type in item. Here's where it gets. See, that way it doesn't spill over into the next cell. It puts it on another line within the cell. Quantity, units, unit price, total price, balance, then details. Now I'm going to go back to A3. But now you can see here, and let me make these bold too so they're a little bit easier for us to see, that some of these are probably going to be numeric or totals like $500 and so on. So I can just click on, so amount budgeted is going to be a dollar amount. So I click on the B above column B, hold down Control, and there's the unit price. So I'm holding down Control, column E, column F, and column G. So I have B and then E, F, and G highlighted, holding down Control. Then I go back up to General, and I will switch it to Accounting, which this $sign right under General, that's Accounting too. And then the example in the book shows whole numbers. So accounting and currency both, they kind of default to having 2 decimal places. So with this, I'm going to tell it not to. So here we have expand the decimal places, and here we have reduce them. So I'm just going to hit that twice. It changes to custom from accounting because I did kind of change it from the default. So now let's go back to A3, and this is where we're going to start typing in our items. So airfare, we budgeted 500. It's airfare for 2 people. And that's 500 for each. This does have kind of a weird layout, but I am following the book. Unit price is 280. The total price is 560. The balance I'm going to leave blank because I'm going to show you how to do the formula that's laid out in the book. And then the details is kind of see how this is way too long, so I'm just going to go between the H and the I here, expand it. Well, again, they budgeted $500 for 4 nights. And I'm going to center this quantity column here. So even though it defaults to it touching the right side, you can fix that. It's just the default. So here's 135. And I am just, actually, let's say the total price is blank, so I can just do a formula in there too. And so here's rental car. And that's 200. So I'm just going to go to the So there's the amount budgeted, and then the unit price is actually how much they spent. And on the bottom here, I'm just going to hit, well, Control B is one way of making the text bold. I'm just going to hit total down here too, and that's going to come into play later. So let me highlight this. So in cell F3, the total prices equals C3 times E3. So this is showing what they actually spent. So there we go. And then here's the plus sign. Again, the black cross. I'm just going to drag it down here. So that way we don't have to do that on each and every line. The balance, we're going to deduct each category's total price from the total budget of $2,000. So in cell G3, I'm going to use the formula equals B10 minus F3. But first I got to do the total. You can see, but I did that because that way you can see what a negative number looks like. It does put it in parentheses. So let me just total these using the auto sum. That'd be the easiest way to do that. Now it becomes 1440, but that was how they do the negative numbers, is they put it in parentheses. I want to show you guys that. And now I'm going to subtract the total price here from this 1440. So it's going to be like balancing a checkbook. They do lay this out in a rather unusual way. So I would do equals, that would be G3 minus F4. There's the $900. Let's see what else. And so then it kind of senses, okay, so you want G3 minus F4, but now you want to subtract G4 minus F5, and then G5 minus F6, and so on and so forth. It's a lot like having a checkbook register. And I can just drag that down one more. Whoops. At that time it did not transfer the file. So I'm just auto summing that. That doesn't quite work either. So you have to be kind of careful about how you do this. So when you black cross it, make sure you black cross it all the way. There's many different ways of doing that. And the total price. See, that just kind of shows you some different ways of doing that. And you can auto sum the total price. There we go. It's 1960. So they were under budget, which is nice. You see, there are all sorts of different ways you can do that. And at the end of page 55, at the end of this chapter, there is a dream vacation exercise. So we can plan a new vacation, which is the vacation of your dreams, using the vacation budget worksheet we just created. So you can just fill in different things and delete different things. And again, if you ever need some individual help, I am available. You can always just call my direct line at 214-525-6145. I'll be glad to set up a video appointment with you so you can go over that virtually. And well, thank you very much. I'm going to save this. This is the end of the chapter. We're going to go on to chapter 5, which is cards and tables.